Eli Whitney School. It's one of our partnership schools. It's basically a public school that is in partnership with a nonprofit organization. Most of the time it's a community-based organization to provide after-school programming for students and parents during the week, sometimes even on weekends. And the motto is sort of a community center after school. There's an oversight committee made up of folks from the school, parents and teachers that evaluate the programs, decide which programs to improve or any type of new programs that they want to see coming into the school. So it's a national model. Chicago Public Schools has been a big proponent of it, and it's been funded by folks like the Polk brothers and some federal dollars as well. So, this block was one of the blocks that hosted B-Ball on the Block for the past 2 summers. So the parents of the school really get into it because a lot of them live across the street, and even though we bring our own barbecue set up, some of them wanted to have some special, homemade stuff, and so they brought some food out for all the volunteers and stuff like that. So this is the high school, Little Village Lawndale High School campus. It's different because it's actually got 4 separate, autonomous, small, public high schools inside the building, and inside it almost looks as if there's 4 buildings in one, but they share most of the amenities: the library, the gymnasiums, the pool, the auditorium, cafeteria, etc. And it's a gorgeous campus. It's a beautiful campus. Each school has a different theme, and the only requirement to come here is that you have to live within the attendance boundaries. It's not a charter school, it's not a magnet school. You just gotta live within attendance boundaries and you're eligible to come. So it's about 75% Latino, 25% African American from our neighboring North Lawndale community. So on the other side of that black fence, across that small sort of service road right here, is where the hunger strike took place. So that was like a little camp city. We called it Camp Cesar Chavez. So this is where the hunger strike was. We actually planted those pine trees in sort of remembrance of it. I was raised here, and I was lucky enough to have sort of some folks in my life that helped me develop a consciousness of my world and of my community. And I think that's it's not that easy for folks to sort of develop. If you're not exposed to sort of some truths via, people or experiences, I think that's why there's sort of a lack of people doing this kind of work. So I was lucky enough to meet some people early on that helped me see things a little bit differently, and so that influenced my decision after college to just sort of get into the nonprofit sector. And I left an organization called the National Council of La Raza, which is kind of like the Hispanic version of the NAACP. And I went backpacking for 5 months through Mexico and Central America. And when I came back, LBCDC had really just been off the ground for like a year. And some friends of mine were working there, where I knew Chuy Garcia because of his political career, and then the local organizer I was good friends with. And so they just called me one day and said, "Hey, we're having a hunger strike. We need your help." And I went, and I had just a part-time job at the time as a citizenship instructor. So I had a lot of free time on my hands. So I just ended up getting a lot more involved than I had anticipated. I took on sort of a leadership role within the hunger strike, and one thing led to another. Then they offered me a full-time job, and so I've been here ever since, and that was about 6.5 years ago. So this is the Manuel Perez Plaza. It was a plaza that was built, I don't know, 20 years ago, maybe. Manuel Perez was a famous Mexican veteran, World War II, who was from this area. So this was one of our New Communities Program early action projects, just sort of like just breathe new life into the plaza. So we got the lights fixed. We got the, these planters were done by work we did. We've had a lot of arts and cultural events here as well. So those were 4 different artists, and they actually painted them here over a few weeks. And then we installed them about 2 years ago. So we're gonna keep trying to find ways of just improving the space and make it more community friendly. This is the house that Rudy Lozano lived in. His family still lives here, his wife, his son Pepe, and then his other 2 sons live in this house. Rudy Jr. lives on the 2nd floor with his wife, and David on the 1st floor. He was a labor organizer, political activist. He was running for alderman at the time. Back then, this ward was represented by a guy named Stenberg, who didn't even live in the ward. He lived in North Riverside and paid little to no attention to the Latino population in this ward. So Rudy, along with others, was part of the movement to create an independent political organization here, which also eventually helped get Mayor Harold Washington elected as the first African-American mayor. So this is Grace Lutheran School, and we basically selected this site as a site of a playground that we were going to build in partnership with a national organization called Kaboom. Their mission is basically to build playgrounds. And so they were looking for a place in Chicago, and we applied to work with them, and we were selected. And then, we looked around and we were like, well, this is a perfect space. It couldn't be on city-owned property, so all the public schools were out. And this was a school that at the time actually was reaching out to us because they had never really been involved in what was going on. They were sort of like this little island. It's a very small school, but kids from our neighborhood go here. And so they loved the idea. They were like, yeah, let's do it. So this playground was literally built in 2 days with like hundreds of volunteers, both from the neighborhood, but also from PepsiCo, because they were the corporate sponsor of this playground. Kaboom sort of coordinated the whole thing. And then, LBCDC supplied sort of some of the local partnership, and we worked with like parents and students from the school to help plan the playground. And it's used. If it's nice out, kids from the school and kids from the surrounding blocks will be out here.